Hello, this is Justice Backstrom, and welcome back to God, Guns, Gaming, and GOP. Today I'll be making sort of a follow-up video, to my video from a year or so back, on the supposed party switch, as well as, to some extent, my video on how cities push people to the left. Now, both of those videos are decent in and of themselves, and by the way, y'all probably want to watch them before this one, just so you can kind of know where I'm coming from. But they've been out for a while now, and I've thought of a lot more I could have said, and I think I've got enough now to make a sequel of sorts. With that said, the aim of this video is to more clearly outline what defines the Democrat and Republican parties, and to outline what eventually caused the Democrat Party to switch, as described in my video on the party switch. One more little thing. Now, before I get started, I will be referring to the modern Democratic Party, the minority rule Democrats, as I called them in my previous video, as carpetbag Democrats, and to the old Democratic Party, previously the majority rule Democrats, as the Ku Klux Krats. That said, I will usually be referring to them collectively simply as the Democrats. Also, I'm only making this comparison as far back as both parties existed, because the Democrats in the Jacksonian area weren't actually that bad, at least as far as I know. Um, Now, one thing that struck me lately, and this is the basic thesis of this video, and that's the idea that the Democratic Party is the party of vices, and the Republican Party is the party of values. Now, this has in part to do with a difference in the liberal understanding of maturity versus the conservative understanding of maturity. Namely, that the liberal understanding of maturity states that someone is mature if they don't care what other people think of them, whereas the conservative understanding of maturity states that someone need not worry what others think about them because they judge themselves already. Now, yes, I did come up with those definitions myself, but I think they're truly representative of what is actually thought. Alright, enough bunny trails. I'm here to show how and why I think that the Republican and Democratic parties are the parties of values and vices, respectively, and basically look at their platforms and who they've sided, their platforms and who they've sided with throughout all history, or all throughout history. Um, I mean, look at the Democrats. Racist, they've got the KKK and BLM. Sexist, they've got feminism and they opposed women's suffrage and whatnot. Want to indulge your every carnal impulse, they've got all kinds of legbitism, a corner on the so-called adult video market, and reaching back further into history, the whorehouses and prostitution centers, rioting, looting, lynching, drugs, gambling, corruption, court packing, big government anarchy, propaganda, and everything else. They've got a corner on almost every vice out there. On the other hand, the Republicans have a corner on all the good values: equality, responsibility, temperance, liberty, duty, respect, patriotism, work ethic, life. These are all basically swear words in a leftist household. Now, I've already done a video on conservative values, though, so I'll not go into too much detail now on them. Um, and when a liberal does claim to hold these values, they usually have some distorted understanding of it. Anyways, I don't have really time to go into detail on each of those at the moment, but maybe later. Um, all right, so now onto the topic of the party switch. The party switch bit of this video, and more specifically, how the Democratic Party switched from the Ku Klux Krats uh, of old to the modern carpetbag Dems. Yes, they still embrace vices as a basic rule, but they're so far removed ideologically that it can be hard to understand how the transition was made. Of course, it's an objective fact that they did switch, so that part at least does not really need to be argued, unlike the far less historical assertion that the Republican Party somehow changed its platform. Essentially, during the 60s and 70s, two things happened. Racism became increasingly frowned upon, and the Republican message of equality finally began to reach the rural South and other traditionally blue areas of the country. And the that and the major cities grew bigger as America became less agricultural, and this of course wrought the effects I talked about in my in my video about cities. This essentially pushed people in major cities towards vices frowned upon by both the Republicans and the Ku Klux Krats. Now, with former Republican strongholds leaving our values behind and former Democrat strongholds beginning to accept and embrace conservative values, um, the Republican Party changed in location, but not in values and platform, while the Democratic Party was forced to completely change its platform or else die out completely, like Walter Mondale's election hopes. Anyways, with that all said, I'm not by any means trying to say the Republican Party is perfect in any way, but simply that we've had a better track record throughout history, and that this can be attributed to the eternal values that we conserve. Now, if there's anything you disagree on or you would like explained in more detail, I'd be happy to discuss it with you in the comment section. But with that being said, that's going to be it for this video. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.